Hello and welcome to another edition of MemSQL Community Conversations. Our guest today is Vinicius Ruoso from Leads2B, a leading marketing automation platform in Brazil. Welcome, Vinicius.
Hello, good morning. Thanks for having me.
So you've been in the technology business for quite a long time, but before we get into that and you tell us about Leads2B, what do you do when you're not developing your platform?
I really enjoy playing tennis. Actually, I have a tournament today to play in my local gym. And also, I like to play video games and computer games. I've been playing Counter-Strike most recently.
Counter-Strike. And have you tried the new flight simulator?
Yeah, that was one really a long wait before we got this version, and it's awesome.
Yeah, really cool. So you've been CTO for a few years at Leads2B. First, tell us a little bit about what Leads2B does and what your role as CTO is.
Okay, so Leads2B aims to be a full sales platform. Our goal is to be something like a sales growth machine. That's how we call it, because when you are going to build a company and start your sales team, you actually need a lot of tools to do that job in the internet era, right? Your customers are in the internet. You need a website. You need to know how to do ads, how to position yourself on the internet, and so on. And you also need, of course, a CRM system, like a system that allow you to control which customers you are talking, to control the customers you might want to sell, right? And you need a lot of stuff, and usually you need multiple softwares to do each of those stuff. And our goal is to be all in one platform, where a company that is starting in that endeavor really can have just one platform where it can start growing its company. So that's basically it. We have a lot of features and functionalities in the system, like a website builder that allows you to build a website. We also have social media integrations, so you can import your leads from social media ads. We have email automation, and the main part, I think, it's mostly our biggest differential here, is that we have a focus on business to business model, right? Our customers usually sell to other companies, and we do have a huge database with a lot of data about Brazilian companies. And yeah, we allow our customer to look at the market and figure out where is a good place to start trying to sell their product.
Got it. And so what's your role as CTO?
Yeah, CTO, working closely to the product team and the directors to figure out what we are missing in the product and how to deliver. And also looking for new technologies and how we can apply them to the business.
And so what are the main data challenges that you have building an integrated marketing, sales, and automation system like Leads2B?
Yeah, we have a lot of data coming in from our systems. We have to handle leads coming from a lot of places. We have APIs that provide company data. And the challenge is that Brazil is a very big country, and we have lots of company. We also go around the internet to find information about every company in Brazil. So that sums up to a lot of data. And our goal is to have a very easy to use platform, right? You don't need to be a specialist to use it. So we built a lot of interactive UIs where it's quite easy to focus on a particular region or focus on a particular kind of business that you might want to sell for. And that's the biggest challenge we have.
And when it comes down to, you mentioned you're handling leads on behalf of these businesses. Well, how does that translate into data sources, types of data, how many data sources, maybe the rate at which you need to ingest data and provide instant access to that data to serve the use cases your customers are trying to solve?
Yeah, it's turns out it's really important. The time to the first contact you do for a new lead that arrives in your sales platform, the time you take to get and start that first contact is really crucial. And we do ingest leads from a lot of places. Of course, we have standard integration with our own website builder, which is, of course, a lead generator. We also create ingest leads from emails that we receive, and that can be a lot of stuff. We also have integrations with Facebook and Google for ingesting leads. So that's the faster we can ingest leads and notify the seller. Okay, you need to get in touch with that lead because it just arrived. The better, right?
So you're hosting MemSQL in a cloud provider, DigitalOcean. The data that you're ingesting sounds like you're taking it from various web analytic sources, Google and other places. Give us a sense of the size and quantify the latency and size of the data you're ingesting and the expectations of your users who are interacting with dashboards within the leads to be system, as well as making decisions about campaigns and other marketing decisions.
Right. So we use MySQL to store all of that data. We have a lot of scrapers that try to figure out information about Brazilian companies. So we start from the full database of Brazilian companies and try to find their websites, find more information, more phones and more email addresses from those companies. We also have an API that's only for retrieving Brazilian company information. And that API is a separate product from Leads2B, but it's from the same group. We have kind of like 1 or 2 billion API calls stored, and we do analyze those from time to time to provide better insights for our customers.
Mm-hmm.
Also, we have real-time dashboards in the system where if the user finds out a company that we haven't scraped, we haven't find any information before, we do it in real time. And also this goes to MySQL storage to figure out if we have any information from that company, and if not, we are going to try to find interactively.
Hmm. So
And
when you were building this and you were looking for a database, what were the requirements that were important? Maybe the top 3 or 4 requirements uh, in a database that would support the kind of use cases you just described there.
yeah, we were using Google BigQuery for some data extractions, and when we figure out that we needed to create a more interactive experience, we just couldn't do it the way we had before. So we started trying to find solutions for that. Brazilian companies are there's a lot of Brazilian companies, and it carries to filter them and have them geolocated. That's quite heavy. There's a lot of information attached to every company, and in order to do something that was interactively, we needed something fast. So it was around, we needed something that would return any kind of query over the companies for at most 1 to 2 seconds. And so the user could go on a map of Brazil and looking at the company's distribution in the map for each region and try to figure out how to the best companies to start trying to sell. And also we have a tool that our customer upload their customer database. Of course, we are a CRM, so that's one of the first steps going to the platform.
Mm-hmm.
And we analyze those customers and try to give our customer the a map where its penetration in the market, how much of the market share they have on that location,
Mm-hmm.
and that also may help make decisions about where to try to sell more, where the penetration is not what they want. And yeah, so all of that needs to be the fastest possible, right?
Right.
You are making a market study, so you need to have fast responses.
Gotcha. And is that where BigQuery started to fall short on your response time required for this real-time interactive experience?
Yeah, the biggest problem was that there was no consistency on response time. So the same query could take from like 5 to 10 seconds, but sometimes it would take a minute. So that's really not great for an application like that. So we needed to figure out how to, if there were a system that could do that for us.
Gotcha. And so how did you find MemSQL at that point?
Yeah, we tried a lot of distributed databases at the time, and it was a web search. Did of course we look at the website, it's pretty well built. It's pretty there's a huge attention to detail, and that caught my attention. I said, well, we need to test this, and this looks promising. And it was. It was delivering every promise that had in the website. And also, before we actually decided to use MemSQL in production, we were just keeping track of development, and there was a quite great number of changes going on. So we see that the product is evolving, and we see that they have a lot of potential. So that was mainly the main decision point. So we loaded, started a small cluster, loaded a few, all the company data, and start doing some queries, and the response times were awesome. So that's when we started investing on putting this in production.
Great, that's terrific. And so when you started using MemSQL, you had experience with BigQuery, and did you and your development team have experience with other databases and those skills, were they easily translatable to the MemSQL environment?
Yeah, that was one of the main decision points as well, because we wouldn't need to learn anything else, because MySQL is MySQL compatible, right, in the protocol. So no lead changes would be needed, and that was just great. Our main product is using MySQL right now, so that was a easy transition.
All right, terrific. And so what capabilities of MemSQL are you using? So if you're doing what we find typically with marketing automation, you've got any sort of web source of data. You often have, flat structures, CSVs, but you also have a lot of JSON objects, documents that need storing. Often it's convenient to store those as native documents to fetch. But often, you mentioned that you have a real-time dashboard, so there's aggregates and analytics that you're probably running against that. So give us a sense of what breadth of capabilities you're utilizing from the product.
Yeah. One of the capabilities is the geolocation queries, and that's something we are going to launch soon. We are not using it right now, but we are launching soon. We're also using a very interesting aggregations. So when the user queries some company, we do a lot of analytical queries at the same time, and they are designed to give an overview, a summary about how many companies there is in the specific regions of the country. So basically, at every top level query, we also carry all the companies at the same time. So if you want to look at all companies that sell like pet products in Brazil, you're going to have a heat map on Brazilian map with summary information about all of those companies. And so every time a user interacts, we go through basically, potentially we can go through the entire database. And we also have one functionality that shows the user which companies are similar to that company that he just looked for. And that's one of our most used features because we have a popularity index for each company based on our own system's usage. We calculate a relative relevance about each company in the market. So when you search for a company that you probably are going to find very similar companies that are being very active on the market. So without MemSQL, I think it's pretty hard to do that kind of queries in real time all the time.
So you're keeping a running sort of leaderboard and statistics for every company, and you're using
it's like it's like a ranking system. We call it popularity, but yeah, it's a ranking system.
Right. And that's really interesting. It seems like there's opportunities there for some machine learning as well to find similarities in other dimensions across the attributes or columns data that you've got on these different companies.
Yeah, that's something that we'll probably start working next year, where we want to giving all that data that we have, giving all the customer information that our user have, try to figure out which, in a better way, which companies might be a good fit for you to sell, right? So there's a lot of information being collected, and we want to try to build some models around it to try to predict if a sale is going to be successful or not.
Right. So in these systems that are customer facing, where you're providing an API, you're also providing a graphical user experience that's needs to be responsive, and it's interactive and has geospatial capabilities even. So you need very quick response times. All of this. Often the challenge in these systems as they become more successful is you get more concurrency demands on the system. Tell us a little bit about how you support concurrency as any of your clients grow, but as you add more clients to this, what I assume is a multi-tenant deployment you've got.
Yeah. MySQL already handles a lot of the concurrency for us, and we do have a caching layer for some of the heaviest queries. And usually the company information doesn't change too often, but our system actually goes and try to update the older information we have all the time. So we have updates on all the tables running all the time while those queries are being executed.
Mm-hmm.
So that's also something that MemSQL helps us doing analytical on such big tables, even though they are changing all the time. And yeah, that's basically, we don't have a very complex system over that, just a caching layer and MemSQL basic concurrency.
Gotcha.
We are running that on a budget, right? We are running on the smallest cluster possible and the at DigitalOcean, and we are also managing everything, right? There's no, we have automation around it, but we mostly run the cluster by hand.
Mm-hmm.
And also the experience there is really good. I think the tools around MySQL are also really great for us to keep track of what's going on, and if we have any problems, it's not so hard to fix them.
Mm-hmm. And so you mentioned you've got a caching layer. Tell us a little bit about your, SLA or objective for the user experience through the interfaces you've had, the API as well as the graphical user interface over the web application. You've got to support that concurrency, but what's your specific SLA for that response time and general responsiveness of the application?
Yeah, we try to have a full real-time system, so we don't want any customer to wait so long for any interaction. So we monitor everything and try to keep everything below 2 seconds. Yeah, for our API, it's a little bit different because it's not a user-facing API, and for that one, the user can request real-time updates on company data, and that may take some time because it's that we depend on external systems, right? We go on the internet and find stuff. So for that, our SLA is like 30 seconds. Mm-hmm. But it's not a full analytical API. For the user-face systems, we want the fastest possible, but somewhere around 2 seconds is good enough for us.
Mm-hmm. I see. And these and what's the total data set under management or ballpark figure, so folks understand, like, if you're getting response times, you mentioned before, consistency of the response time is important. So consistently under 2 seconds, how large is this shared data set?
Yeah, the company database is, if you sum everything, is like 64 gigs of memory. And for the analytical stuff, everything that we crawl from the web, we do not store in memory. But that's quite a large database as well, because MemSQL compress everything, so it doesn't look that big, but it's around half a terabyte. And for our API calls that we use to calculate the popularity index that I talked about, that's like 2.5 terabytes, I think, as well. So 1 terabyte of data in total.
Gotcha. So in a small cluster of a few nodes of MemSQL, you're covering, you're using the in-memory row store as well as the column store, which has in-memory and disk persistence compressed.
Yeah, we run the largest free MemSQL cluster that you can have. It's 4 nodes with 128 gigs of memory.
Gotcha. And so let's, in MemSQL, we provide this dual store capability of row store and column store. That might have been a new model to design for, coming from MySQL, BigQuery, other systems that you and your team may have had experience. Tell us a little bit about sort of the schema design effort and what design choices you needed to make to write from MemSQL.
Yeah, when we started, there was a bigger difference between the row store and column store storage, right? I see that right now we are converging for a more single store approach, right? So at the time we have to try it out both. And for the most user-facing queries, we thought that was important to have the fast possible performance, and that's why we put it in memory. But also because as I said, there was a lot of updates on that data all the time. So it's like 10 updates per second. It seems not much, but for column store at the time wasn't a good fit. So the decision was, okay, let's put everything that we need for those real-time queries in memory and try to figure out how much space it would lose. And it wasn't that much. We thought it was going to be a lot more. And everything else we are doing on disk, because we don't need super fast response times. But turns out column store is really, really fast. Mostly, and it's also not expensive, right? Because the compression is very, very good. We were using like 3-4 terabytes of data for API logs on BigQuery, and MemSQL is a lot, much less. So all those analytical queries that we run for popularity and external company information, we use column store. And yeah, that's it.
And so coming from a design environment with MySQL that's single node, MemSQL, of course, is a distributed database, and it automatically shards your data but you have one design choice to make in terms of how to partition or shard that data. How was that a difficult design decision to make, or tell us about the thinking required or the understanding your queries and workloads to make that decision?
Yeah, in that our scenario wasn't that complex because every company has its own data set and its own ID, right? So that's a unique ID, and that's pretty random. And um, that was a no-brainer to choose as a shard key for almost all the tables that we have. Um, and for like API logs, it's easier to shard by um, something like any property of the API call, like a timestamp or URL as well. And we, out of the box, we have a very good distribution of data in the cluster. So yeah, there wasn't too much effort on that because most of it's doing by MySQL and you don't have to worry too much. Also, when testing the performance, the the explanation of the query and the profiler is also really good to figure out if you are doing some mistakes in that on those shard keys or the schema in general.
Gotcha. Yeah. So when you were having problems scaling MySQL to the low latency response times you needed and concurrency, before moving to BigQuery, did you look at other ways to extend the scalability of MySQL with sharding middleware or anything like that?
Yeah, we tried to run it on distributed MySQL solutions around. The performance was not the same as MemSQL. And you kind of don't have too much control over what goes into memory and what doesn't. So moving to having analytical queries and transactional queries at the same time wasn't really good on those systems. And with such big tables that we have, it just didn't perform as MySQL were performing. So we did try distribute MySQL, but there's also those limitations, right? Those limitations.
So what were some of the distributed MySQL options you tested?
It was a platform over Vitess, which I think it's the most popular version of distributed MySQL. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. So what advice or tips would you have for other MemSQL community members who are watching today about selecting the right database for the scenario, but also in choosing something like MemSQL?
Yeah, you just need to think on the long run, right? Most applications are now mixing a lot of type of queries. You want real-time data all the time, and the solutions that work on the past doesn't work right now. So you need to start. Of course, you're going to also grow, and when you grow, you want your database to grow with you. So it's very, very important to think about that from the start. Uh, and yeah.
So yeah, that's great advice. We find that modern SaaS applications like this, you expect them to be wildly successful, but which means you need to be able to scale out as you grow to meet demand, but also you want to add value as your customer base grows, and that involves different kinds of workloads, different kinds of functionality, adding geospatial, time series, these sorts of things. And on that point, did you look at a multi-data store approach, or what people might call polyglot persistence, by having a specialized purpose-built data store for different scenarios, like for a search of the companies, like with a search index, or for the time series information, a dedicated time series database?
Yeah, for our product, the way it is now, it does not demand those kind of systems. And that also is something that we know that we are backed up by the choice we had by moving to MySQL.
So what's next for Leads to Be and your system over the near term, midterm? What are you building next? What would you like to see in MemSQL?
Awesome. We are doing a lot of things. That's not very related to how we store data, but we are building a voice platform within our Leads to Be, which will allow our customers to just have a browser and you can do everything you need to make any kind of sale. So you can call someone, and also we have a video conference system also working in the platform. So we are moving more towards that all-in-one idea. And we're also rebuilding some stuff. And for those systems, we are considering using MemSQL. So all of our automation engine that automates actions and email marketing and things like that within the platform, we are rebuilding that to be more flexible. And yeah, we are going to have more and more features that allow our customers to stay within Leads to Be and do everything they need to have their sales team perform.
Mm-hmm. Terrific.
And well, about MemSQL, I expect that the free tier still is still a thing.
Yeah,
because
it's free forever. That's that way. That's right.
That's a really differential, because there's a lot of open source systems with distributed database, but they're very most of the time they're not so easy to get going and learn the details and their specifics. And MySQL is really easy to try it out and easy to understand the concepts and adapt for your use case. So and the free cluster also gives you a lot of breathing space, right? It's not too much, not too low, so you can have a successful case using the free tier without any problem.
Terrific.
Yeah. And of course the SingleStore approach, it's also something that I think is really cool. When we get to the point that we don't need to think about those two different types of data stores, that's going to be easier for whoever is building the system or designing the schema.
Terrific. So how long have you been using MemSQL?
It's been almost 2 years now, I think.
Okay.
I can tell you exactly how long. No, it's making one. It's not 2 years. It's 1 year. It's making 1 year today.
Oh, wow. Well, we should have a celebration.
Yeah, that's the birthday of MemSQL in Leeds should be.
That's right. That's terrific. And how large is the team that you have working on MemSQL?
On MySQL, we have two engineers that really know how it works, and everybody on the team just abstracted because it's similar to MySQL, so they just use data, and two other engineers are responsible for the schema design and thinking about more about the carry performance and that kind of stuff.
Right. So it sounds like two database administrators slash operators and maybe a little bit of design work, and the others
Yeah,
are application developers who just read and write through SQL, right?
yeah, that's it.
Terrific. Great. Well, thanks for spending your time with us today and sharing your story about Leads to Be and the exciting things you're doing for marketing automation, sales, and CRM in Brazil, and your use of MemSQL. I think the MemSQL community really appreciates you sharing their story, sharing your story with them. So Vinicius, thanks very much.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here, and thank you for the great product.
All right. Goodbye.
Bye bye.